in the time of the last few decades, having witnessed the growth of Telluride, the largest amount of development unfolding is happening now, and that unfolding is for workforce housing and for community housing. It's not free market development. And these guys, along with the local governmental entities, are paving the way and leading the charge, and they've got some pretty interesting things. And so what I'd like to know about the Norwood project is what put it on the Telluride Foundation's radar.
Really, the origin of this is to try to create a model that could be scaled and replicated across the state for rural communities. So this is not solving the downtown Denver issue, which is really driven by a different approach, which is primarily federal tax credits. And it's not the resort issue in Telluride or Aspen or Crested Butte, which are just a completely messed up market. The delta between what a person makes, the difference between what a person makes in a good salary as a nurse in the medical center at the Telluride Medical Center versus what's available for them to buy, there's no way you're going to close that gap in Telluride without a huge subsidy. But in Norwood or Ridgeway or other rural communities across the state, they're running into the same sort of affordable housing or workforce housing crisis. So the origin of this idea was, can we try to solve that niche problem? And really we're doing it by attacking the cost. So the cost when you think about construction or building a house is the land, the cost of capital, and then the cost to actually build the product. And so we get free land. That's our model. We go into a community and where can we get free land? School district, municipality, the county.
So the county participated in this particular...
The county donated the land.
Mm-hmm.
In Ridgeway, we approached the school district there. They actually have a parcel of land, but they didn't want to donate it. But we found another solution. Then we go after the cost of capital. So we have very low cost capital from Colorado foundations and from the state as construction revolving loan fund. And then finally, it's literally attacking how do you build efficiently. And you build least efficiently when you build on site. The first thing that comes onto a job site is a dumpster, because 30% of all materials that come onto a job site are waste. They get hauled there and then they get hauled back. You're dealing with weather. You're dealing with all of the volatility around the labor market and the lack of labor in construction. So really, to build efficiently, you have to get into a factory environment, and you either build the entire house, what's called modular construction in a factory, or components of it. Could be walls, roofs, trusses, things like that. So that's what we put together in this approach. It's not so much Norwood. Norwood is our first project, but it's really, we're trying to create a model that can be replicated in rural communities across the state. There's 150 rural school districts in Colorado. All of them have a housing crisis. They can't house their teachers, they can't house their nurses, they can't house their deputy sheriffs.
Well, this sounds like a really sustainable model with how you explained it, and the contributions that a county government is contributing with it. And before we get into the programming of it, how about we talk about who this is intended for, specific to the town of Norwood? So it sounds like it's not Telluride and it's not other communities. It's focused on a rural community of Norwood, which is roughly 500 or 600 families that live there.
Yep.
And been around since the 1800s. So who specifically is this for, and are they going to be buying or renting?
So this is all for sale product. So this is home ownership. And a lot of the people that end up buying a house and getting a mortgage will be first-time home buyers. They will not have had this opportunity ever in their life. So this is really fun to see that and see people, actually realize, that they could be a homeowner with all the rights and responsibilities that go with that. So the target audience in Norwood are the people that live and work in Norwood.
Okay.
And so they have the first choice, or they will be first tier in the lottery. And then within that first tier, we prioritize people that work for the school district, people that work for the medical center, people that work as first responders, and people that work in government. So all of those boxes will get a second lottery ticket. If we don't fill we have 24 homes in Norwood. If those homes aren't taken up by those people, the people that live and work in Norwood, and or these first tier of lottery winners, then we'll open it up for a second tier, which could include people that currently work in Telluride, or they work in Ridgeway, or wherever.
Will there be specific financing programs for these potential first-time home buyers that is unique and different that they should, the viewers should take a look at and research or talk to particular lenders?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you think about attacking affordable housing or workforce housing, this whole, thing that we're all talking about, we've primarily been focused on the cost of building the house and getting, a certificate of occupancy, and this is the cost of the house. What people don't think about often is amortizing the cost of purchasing that house over 30 years. That's what a mortgage is. So if you can lock in the cost of spreading the cost of that mortgage over 30 years, you have a lot more buying power. We can take somebody that's making $50,000 a year, and they can literally buy a house that's really priced for somebody at $70,000 a year if we can lock in a good mortgage price. And we can help them with down payment assistance.
They can buy 30% more house with your program.
They can buy about 30%. So we have a mortgage product that's at 2.5% interest rate for 30 years, plus down payment assistance. So literally you could get a teacher in that has no savings, that's making, the average salary for a teacher is $47,000, and they could buy almost a $300,000 home.
A good rule of thumb for viewers is for every $100,000 that you borrow, it's going to cost you about $500 per month, FYI, and at 2.5% is probably more like $400 per month.
Exactly.
David, with the programming of these units, can you tell us the number of units that are available and what the configuration is, and are they duplexes or any single family? Are there tiny homes? What can you tell us about that?
Sure thing. So the neighborhood we're building in Norwood is called Pinion Park. It's just south of the library, so about 3 blocks from Main Street. There'll be 24 units, all single-family homes, either attached or detached. And we have 2 options, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and 2-bedroom, 2-bath. The 3-bedroom is about 1,216 square feet with a front porch. 10 of those units will have attached garages, 18 by 24 foot garages. And the 2-bedroom, 2-bathrooms are 1,024 square feet. It was critical through our design process to make sure every home had a front porch, try to really establish community presence on the street. If you think about the deed-restricted communities in Telluride, those are the best for trick-or-treating around Christmas. There's like real vitality to those streets. So that was key as we were thinking through this project. We also did some manipulation with planned unit development, so some setback constraints and the attached single-family homes, so 2 units that share a party wall really help make these small lots have much larger and spacious yards. And just after this interview, I'm talking with a landscape design firm to see how we can make the streetscape as nice as possible. So,
how about storage and garages?
Yeah, that's been key, especially for people with these sorts of lifestyles that we know well out on the West Slope, bikes, skis, boats, whatever. So every home will have significant storage. If they don't have a garage, we're working through some designs for large spacious sheds, about 10 by 15 or 10 by 20 foot sheds that could be converted to be a office space, storage, you name it, but definitely critical component of any housing out here in this region.
And in terms of the location of the Pinion Park project, it is very close to the Lone Cone Library as well as the Main Street. And I guess the reason why you guys chose that site was because of the county's involvement as well and their willingness to play in this.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the keys to this is, we're not necessarily reinventing anything with this proposal, just putting together established pieces. So it truly is a partnership among a nonprofit, government, private entities that are working on efficient home building. So it's just really pulling together all the pieces. And I think part of it was just Paul and the Telluride Foundation and all their work sort of pitching this approach to different entities, and this swath of land popped up. So it's super lucky that is in the town boundary, so we get the efficiency of water service, sewer service, all this sort of municipal infrastructure, but also just happens to be in this strip with public parks, next to a Frisbee golf field, near the library, near town hall. So it's really a perfect piece of land.
And let me, there's a moral challenge about affordable housing too. People often say, well, can't we put those people someplace else? Why do they need to be in our neighborhood? I want to, personally, I want to live next to a teacher or a deputy sheriff. They're part of the community. They are the core of the community. So it's important that this parcel and this neighborhood is in the core of Norwood. It's not on the outskirts of Norwood or the outskirts of Telluride. It's in the core, because these are the core people that go to work every day, that spend their paychecks there, that provide the services that the community needs. So part of this is, we have this thing called NIMBYism, not in my backyard. And it's got to be YIMBYism, yes, in my backyard.
Especially for this project, and it seems like when it was launched that there was an automatic assumption that it was going to become a bedroom community type of project, and you guys have made it explicitly clear that that is not the case. How's the community of Norwood receiving it?
Well, just for sort of a benchmark, every planning meeting we had, sketch plan, zone change, PUD, preliminary plat, final plat, we had a series of meetings with both the Planning and Zoning Commission in Norwood and Town Council, and every single vote was unanimously approved. So I think it was that orientation specifically, that this is housing for the community of Norwood, people who want to invest in the town and live there, that really helped us sail through. Of course, there are some people who aren't psyched about changes. I think that's a pretty natural human condition, but we have support of the mayor and all of Town Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I really feel like a large contingent of the community is supportive, so it feels great.
What is the price point for these homes, and how is the lottery system going to work, and when is that going to happen?
Lottery scheduled for August 1st. What we've done so far is sort of start to specify the characteristics of each of the 24 lots, whether they're 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, whether they have a garage or a shed, where they're oriented on the lot, and start to tier the units based off a sliding scale. And we haven't pegged every single lot with a value yet, but we are aiming to start selling homes at $195,000 and not exceed $395,000. So that will be our range. Obviously, we want to make all of these units as accessible and affordable as possible. That's been the motivation from the start of this whole project. But as you know, in construction right now, everything's volatile, and it is unwise for us to set home prices until we are further down the road. So we've tiered them, and we're going to set sort of benchmark tiers which fit then into the lottery. So, there'll be tier 1, which is $195,000 to $225,000, for example. I'm riffing here. And that will be associated with certain income ranges in the lottery. So we're going to, as we get more information about who's applying, who's interested in buying these homes, how they're sort of qualifying for bank loan to buy these homes, then we'll really get more specific on how to allocate pricing.
You touched on a key point, and that's financing and working with a lender. Are there local lenders who are willing to participate, or who are aware of participating, or who want to participate? And is there any sort of internal Telluride Foundation banking that's going to be happening?
We are not going to underwrite mortgages. But no, we've got great support from both Alpine Bank and Citizen Bank, which is really based and headquartered out of Uray. But then we have a specialty lender called Impact Development Fund. And they're what's called a CDFI, a Community Financial Investment Entity or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's designated by the Treasury, and they can get special access to capital. They're the ones that are going to be providing this 2.5% 30-year mortgage. But it's for incomes at 80% of area median income and below. So it's specified really for sort of median and lower income households. But our partners in Alpine and Citizen are great partners. They understand these are deed restricted homes, which is a different kind of product. So it does require, most of the big lenders, they're not going to touch this because they're deed restricted. But between those two banks and IDF, we've got great partners. And
is IDF going to be coming into the fold of these two local banks, or is it I can choose from IDF, Citizens, or Alpine?
And USDA or
Yeah.
Jaffa. I mean, there's a whole suite of
And also
products.
FHA and VA.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. So, we're encouraging applicants to shop around and talk to as many banks as possible.
I guess if as someone who's really interested in making a purchase, getting into the system, they need to contact their lender, they need to go to your website, and they also need to see how much money down payment they need. Do you know if these banks are looking for 20% down, which is typical for a purchase, or outside of an FHA or a VA loan, which allows you to borrow to put as little as 0% down if you were a veteran of the military or an active duty military? Is there any minimums for down payments that you're aware of yet?
So the first here, kind of going back to your question, the origin of your question is, do you qualify for the deed restriction? So do you make something less than this threshold, 120% AMI? Are you going to live in the house full time? Do you work? All of those are the kind of the threshold questions. Once you fill out that form, then we'll give you the green light to go contact a lender. So all of those questions are going to be answered hand in hand with the lender. The buyer and the lender will sit down and start to go through, okay, what are the options? Some of these lenders like IDF have down payment assistance. They could bring 15% to the table of the down payment of the value of the house. Alpine Bank is talking about a specialized product. What they have to do, what the buyer has to do is once they qualify, get this basic qualification for the deed restriction, they start to work with their lender, they'll get a pre-qualification that they can actually get a mortgage. That will get them eligible for the lottery. If they win the lottery, they pick a home, then they'll underwrite the mortgage. And then the next step is to move in.
What do potential buyers need to do right now in order to get the ball rolling?
So we would recommend learning about the project on our website, pinionparknorwood.co. It's got a whole bunch of information on there, including a site plan, floor plans of the units, information about banks and mortgage opportunities, down payment assistance, as well as a sort of roadmap of what the next 7 months might look like if you're trying to get into the lottery. 5 months, I guess, is August. So learning about the project. Second is making sure that you more or less comply with the deed restriction. So the overarching themes of the deed restriction are an income qualification. So your household earns below 120% of San Miguel County's area median income, and that varies based on how large your family is. So household of one, it's around $71,000. Household of three, around $103,000. Number two on the deed restriction is an asset qualification. So making sure that all your worth is less than 3 times the value of the house. So that's really just to incentivize folks without a lot of life savings who have critical jobs in the community getting access to these homes. And then there's a property deed restriction. So no improved residential property within 250 miles, 150 miles of here. And what else am I missing?
And just on the ownership of residential property, all you have to do is declare that you're going to sell it. So if you own a house in Norwood already, but you want to buy one of these, you just have to understand that the whole point of this program to make it affordable and make it for the workforce is, first, you don't have $1 million in assets sitting in the bank. If you do, you probably should go to market-based housing versus having all of these public subsidies. 2 is, if you already own residential property, why are we providing a subsidized house for you? So it's not to penalize anyone, but it's to make sure the people that don't have the resources to buy and own and live in a house in their own community have first pick.
Why did you choose to go to this purchasing route rather than renting?
It's really a matter of how you use capital. So renting, the only difference between purchase and rental when you're a developer is your capital stays in the project for a period of time. And it could be 10 years. It's typically 10 years for the developer. So you have a construction loan to build the project, and then you have permanent financing because you're staying in the project and you're just servicing the permanent financing with the rental income. With a for sale, you build it, you have construction lending, and then you sell it and you pay back your construction lending.
I would also say the project encourages local businesses to compete in the lottery to purchase a unit and then rent to their employees. So there's nothing preventing sort of other agency owning the home and renting it to employees.
So what happens if the 24 units are not purchased by these first responders, these teachers and medical personnel, and there's still availability. Who's the next tier?
Yep, there's 2 rounds in the lottery. The first is for people who work in the R2 school district, that's Norwood School District. After that first tier of the lottery, it opens up to anyone else. So you could be employed in Telluride, in Mountain Village, in Grand Junction, in Montrose, and be applicable to buy one of these homes. So we don't have clear figures right now about how many applicants there are from Norwood versus Telluride, and we encourage everyone, regardless of where you currently work, to apply and get in the system to enter the lottery and buy one of these homes. It could go to 1 tier, but more than likely there'll be 2 rounds of the lottery.
Any discussions about transportation and bus service between communities?
Yeah, first, if the 24 homeowners are all working in Norwood, it's really not an issue. But we've already got a bus system, between Norwood, the bus is full, and the bus, they'll probably have to add service. If there are more people that actually work in Telluride to buy one of these houses. But
How's the interest been?
The interest has been pretty phenomenal. Since we launched the website a month ago, we've had 780 unique visitors.
Wow.
And about 75 people who have expressed interest through our I'm Interested form, which is a Google form connected to our website. So it's strong, and that's been one of the most rewarding parts of this project, seeing police officers, nurses, teachers, produce managers all sort of say, hey, I'm currently renting, I want to buy a home. So the data we're extracting from that includes household size, large ranges of household income, so that we can start to understand how to most accurately price these units, but also what they do for work and where they work. And so that's starting to help us understand how the lottery will set up.
Will there be any HOA dues to make? No
it's just
HOA.
So
Full single family ownership.
Yeah, again, unfortunately, we have to put deed restrictions on this, right? To both make sure it goes to people that have the greatest need for housing and the least opportunities to do that. But 2 is, we want to make sure somebody is a homeowner and all the rights and responsibility to owning a house. And there are rights and responsibilities. So we want to stay out of the deed restriction business, the HOA business, because that adds cost, but it also sort of forces you into sort of other relationships with your neighbors and neighborhood. So we want it to be a neighborhood like basically emerged out of World War II. We built America on neighborhoods, and there were no HOAs back then. They were just neighborhoods.
What if someone wants to sell 5 years from now? Is there a particular process? Is there limitations of appreciation or anything like that?
So there'll be a 3% appreciation cap, and that if the market goes up. Remember, the market doesn't always go up. It has in Telluride, but that's not necessarily true. But if the market is going up, the maximum you can get appreciation is 3% per year.
Okay, and how about future projects? If you're going to put this money in, get your money out, and do you have some other projects on the horizon if someone misses out on this with so many people that are expressing interest already?
Yeah, so we're working on a land use application in the town of Ridgeway for 14 units. It's a much smaller site. It's a little less than an acre, whereas on 24 units in Norwood, we're putting, it's about 3 acres to put 24 units. So that is in the works. It would be terrific to start doing infrastructure and land development sometime this summer. But it's a much more thorough process working with the town of Ridgeway, and with that time and expenditure. So we're hoping to get there. And then also in Ouray, we are looking at a much larger parcel, about 9 acres. That's on Route 550 as you're heading into town, sort of stunning views of the Box Canyon to the south. And there's, very much doing a lot of site due diligence, making sure that it is sort of seeing what the carrying capacity of the site is, how many units we'll build, and what additional program can we put there, such as walking paths, parks, landscapes, child care center, things like this.
So the future is bright for workforce housing, whether it's in Norwood, sounds like Uray and Ridgeway. There are a lot of opportunities for the first time in a while. If you can just stay hanging on a little while longer, there is going to be probably the ripple effect as well. So if anyone moves into these different residences, it's going to open up some other opportunities as well.
Yep.
Talk to your favorite realtor or go to the website, and we have a number of different resources to help you get your foot in the door.